keynote and our next speaker is Sandy Carter, General Manager, Cloud Ecosystem and Developers, and Social Business Evangelist at IBM. She is a recognized leader in social business, best-selling author, and one of the most influential women in Web 2.0 technology. Sandy joined IBM in 1989, and during her 26 years of lifelong tenure, she has played multiple roles and has been a very high-performing executive. Her character was summed by her team once by presenting her a Grammy, which was a gigantic exclamation point, which they said represented passion, leadership, and success. So please join me in welcoming Sandy Carter to TiCon and our track keynote final speech. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Everybody doing well? So this is my second time coming to TiCon. You know, last year was my very first time coming, and I have to say, it was such a great experience learning from so many phenomenal people and such a great set of networking that I had to come back today as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me tell you, since this is my second time back, I've learned a lot about working with entrepreneurs and being an entrepreneur inside of IBM. And one of the things that I thought was so important to talk about and to discuss was really some of the innovations that the cloud can yield for entrepreneurs. And so we've been working with thousands of entrepreneurs around the world, and we decided to take a look at leveraging the cloud. What are the 5 top innovations that we're seeing out there that are driving competitiveness and differentiation in the market? Now, before we get started, I'm going to let you know my Twitter hashtag. It's Sandy_Carter. So Sandy_Carter. Because what I'm hoping to do, and one of the things I valued most about TiCon last year, was that we kept in touch with so many people and shared best practices and stories. So I'm hoping that we can do the same here as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start out with 3 of the things that we see driving the digital economy. So lots of things are happening in the marketplace, and we see 3 critical trends that are really driving innovation. The first is that this front-end decision-making is happening today, and we all see it with decisions made at someone's fingertips with a mobile device. The second big trend we're seeing is that business processes are getting smarter. We're seeing insight-driven processes where data is pulled in from unusual sources, weather data, social data, to change the way your process works. And then thirdly, we're seeing a lot of digital innovation, where it's not just about your company, but it's about the ecosystem that surrounds your company. In fact, today I met with several entrepreneurs and we talked about the ecosystem that they needed to be most successful. And as we think about that ecosystem, we're seeing some, I think, really interesting things being driven across the board. Let's see, this clicker is going crazy here, huh? Can I go back a slide, please? Back another slide, please. There you go. Thank you. So we were talking about this digital innovation needing an ecosystem. And what we're seeing from the most successful entrepreneurs in a study we did called Business and Tech Trends, thousands of companies around the world looking at the pace setters, those who are setting the pace for the other entrepreneurs around innovation. And we found that as we looked at them, they are bringing clients in their innovative processes, crowdsourcing ideas for them, not just about the product and marketing and messaging, but customer support. They're embedding them in their processes. We see these pace setters looking at new types of data, new data sources that are needed in the market. And we're looking at Internet of Things. Even though I know this is not the Internet of Things track, I know that cloud helps to drive the Internet of Things. They're leveraging the Internet of Things in all kinds of different applications. And so looking at these lessons that we've learned, I try to do a kind of a tribute to David Letterman. You guys know David Letterman's retiring, right? And he always does the top 10 countdown. I didn't have time for 10, but we're going to do the top 5 countdown of these innovations that I think can make you more successful as an entrepreneur. So we're first going to talk about how in the cloud, and all of these happen in the cloud, as we just heard from the VCs, the cloud is the place to be. We're going to talk about how using predictive capability in real time is becoming a game setter. We're going to talk about IoT in the cloud, so just for a couple of minutes on why IoT is so important. We're going to talk about mobile, but in a slightly different way than folks have been talking about it, last couple of years. We're going to then talk about cognitive, using machine-based learning to take your application, your business to the next level. And then we're going to close on kind of combining the two areas of this track, which are cloud and security together. So we're going to start with number 5, and we'll go down. So if you could go to the next slide for me, please. And if you can click maybe again, let's fill out the slide. So one of the things, and just click again, and again, and one more time. Thank you. Thank you very much. So one of the things I find is very interesting is if you look at Wimbledon and the US Open and all of the Grand Slam tennis events, those events today are run by a set of entrepreneurs. And I find it fascinating how they're differentiating their ability today based on predictive capabilities. So if you think about a tennis match, and you think about what you need to run a tennis match and how you need to drive commerce behind it, the game is being set at a different level now by serving up different types of competitiveness. One around predicting the unpredictable. I don't know if many of you know, some of the tennis matches, they usually play their final game on Sunday. But when the games get rained out or something happens to where that game gets moved to Monday or Tuesday, how do you predict the demand for the commerce engine? How do you use social media to predict things? Now Wimbledon and the US Open are able to look at tweets coming in on a player and anticipate and predict the number of sales of t-shirts, of fan material based on the number of tweets coming in, but also leveraging it to see what level of cloud capability they need. They're also able to adjust in real time based on weather trends, not just rain that gets a game rained out, but also things like cloudiness and windiness and that impact on the game. And all of this is now possible by the predictive capability that is made available in the cloud, the ability to predict things in real time so that you can anticipate and have that advantage. And one of the stories that I love is about Wayne Gretzky. You guys know who Wayne Gretzky is, hockey player? A lot of people think my husband looks like Wayne Gretzky, by the way. But what I love about Wayne Gretzky is, he's a world-class hockey player. And many people think it's all about his athletic ability. But it's actually about his predictive capability. He gets a 10-second advantage because he's able to predict not where the puck is, but where the puck is going. That's what he's best at. Now, as an entrepreneur, think about that, the ability to have a 20-minute advantage using predictive capability in real time. Something that brute force can't give you, something that you can't just say, oh, I'm gonna, move my business model. It's really about using that predictive capability in the cloud to give your business that 20-minute advantage, that 10-minute advantage that you need in the marketplace. And so this lesson that we learned from all these entrepreneurs around the world about that predictive capability, getting that Wayne Gretzky 20-minute advantage, 10-second advantage, is all about really doing 3 things. It's about anticipating what matters most to your client. So the example I gave you up front about Wimbledon, they saw that things that mattered to their clients, the tennis fans, were things like weather, things like tweeting. And so they optimized for those things in their predictive capability. I don't doubt that many of you have great technology, but have you really sat down and thought about the customer and what he or she is really anticipating? The second thing I'd encourage you to do is out on GitHub, also in Stack Overflow, but GitHub has a lot of great code samples. There's some predictive extensions out there that you can play with and experiment with that are very good and very powerful. And then in this space, this predictive capability, I would encourage you to look at not just what you're doing in your industry, but look at beyond your industry. See what others are doing in the predictive capability area. I was just in China. I was working with a set of entrepreneurs in the financial services space, and they wanted me to use all examples from retail because they know that banking is going to become like retail. Manufacturing examples because of the supply chain issues as well. So think broader and wider about how you're doing it. So the fifth, counting down, our fifth item is really about using this predictive capability to give you that Wayne Gretzky competitive advantage as an entrepreneur using technology. So our number 4 one, and I love the fact that TiCon has this whole track on Internet of Things, because I do believe that Internet of Things has so many great competitive advantages. And this first example I wanted to use is the Weather Channel. The Weather Channel just moved its business over to the cloud, but what they're doing and leveraging the cloud for is to capture more data from sensors. In fact, they're adding in 100,000 more sensors to collect information. That gives them about 2.2 million forecast points, about 10 billion forecast points a day. Now you might be thinking, well, that's great for the Weather Channel. Well, how can we use that? But think about it, as an entrepreneur, a lot of that data is made available to us through APIs. In fact, they're able to assist companies to help project retail inventory. So snow shovels in the Northeast. I live in New York. We had so much snow. The ability to project when a storm was coming and to move inventory around. Insurance companies. Several entrepreneurs we have in the insurance space are now using data from the Weather Channel in order to predict claims coming in, potential claims coming in, and what might happen in their business. So think about how these sensors and this data that the sensors are collecting can help you create a competitive advantage. Now, we've talked a lot about some big companies like Weather Channel and entrepreneurs leveraging that, but I would love to tell you the story about one of my entrepreneurs in the UK with a very simple solution that actually got her the keynote at South by Southwest and actually got her selected by NASA to come and present on a great IoT solution. And you're going to say, wow, this is so simple, but let's think about what she's done. So she has printable ink that now conducts electricity. And if you can see up there on the board, what she's doing is she's creating a poster that has a real world experience. You know, everything today is about the experience, and Internet of Things allows you to do that. So the poster board, if you look at the drums, what she now does is with sensors, when you touch the drum, the poster has the experience of playing the drum. You can actually hear a drum sound. When you touch the cymbal, you hear a cymbal sound. So now a poster of a set of drums is not just a poster that's static, but it now comes to life with an experience of touching and playing the drums. But it even goes further, what she's done for the music industry. And again, she's an entrepreneur with 4 people working for her, using the same techniques and sensors, but now driving into the analytics. She's now placing these sensors on album covers for several great and fabulous artists. And so when they want to release an album, I don't know if you know that album covers and albums are coming back. They're now in vogue. You can actually touch the song and play a little snippet of the song from the album cover. That data is now being fed back in, and analytics is being used on it to project the next #1 song from the album, what t-shirts the artist needs to print up, what concerts might they need to do in what cities. And so she's using this very simple concept of the Internet of Things to drive businesses and business results. So the Internet of Things, I believe, is going to have a real big impact. And in fact, we believe it so much, and we see so many entrepreneurs here. We're sponsoring a hackathon with women in technology. And I bring that up here because the hackathon for women in technology is all about IoT. And we're encouraging, helping, mentoring, and coaching new entrepreneurs, primarily founders who are women, of how to take advantage of this particular trend. And I'd love to invite all of you. I know that this year TiCon in particular is supporting a lot of women in tech to participate, to volunteer to become mentors, to really help take this trend, like what we saw from Kate, into the next level. So for Internet of Things, the lessons that we've learned from these great entrepreneurs, first is to speed up your process, get to market faster, integrate quicker. Leverage a set of recipes and toolkits that are out there. For instance, one example is IBM. Out on our developer work site, we've got recipes that help you connect into meaningful sensors to help you do things very, very quickly. Because this is a new space, we encourage you to attend a lot of workshops and learn from others, and then ensure that you're building security into the Internet of Things. A lot of the entrepreneurs that I'm meeting with, really the security side of the data and the sensors coming in is becoming increasingly important as they're going out there to sell in a B2B environment. So we talked first, our number 5 was all about that real-time and predictive capability. Our number 4 was about thinking about how to embed Internet of Things into your solution, either leveraging someone else's data like Weather Channel or creating something like what Kate has done with her company. Our third area is around mobile. And I know you guys may be like me thinking, oh, mobile. You know, we've been talking about mobile for, gosh, how many years? What's new and innovative about mobile? Well, I think it's quite interesting to see the trend today around those entrepreneurs who are pace setters in mobile. This is an example of Monetize. They're another European entrepreneur, and they're in the mobile payment space. But they're very unique and very differentiated because of the way that they're using mobile. They're embedding social into mobile so that you're able to use mobile payments from social networks. They have now embedded collaboration to create an amazing state-of-the-art experience for mobile users. And they've now embedded analytics into every step, whether it's identification of an opportunity, progression of an opportunity, or post-sale of an opportunity around that mobile equation. So essentially what they've done in the mobile space and with the mobile technology is done what pace setters, what entrepreneurs who are pace setters are doing today. So I'm going to take you back to that business technology study that we did, 1,800 entrepreneurs around the world. And we looked at those who have been very successful with an exit strategy or very successful with their financials versus those followers who are still trying to make it. One of the big aha moments from the study that we found was that those pace setters have different characteristics. And one of them comes in here in the way that they integrate mobile into a solution. So pace setters were 6 times more likely to combine mobile and analytics. And as you guys know, not every mobile solution today really takes advantage of analytics in the cloud. The second thing they do is they were 5 times more likely to embed social into their mobile experience, thus broadening out their platform. And if we look at the overall study, there were 3 major aha points. 2 of them had to do with the way that these entrepreneurs were integrating and embedding these things together in their solution to make it more essential. So around the mobile side, some of the things that we thought about for entrepreneurs that we've learned as lessons were, one is to really look at how you're leveraging mobile analytics or creating a company to create mobile analytics. Number 2 was around that area of social. What social data matters to your application and how do you integrate and really charge that data up? And then in the center, how do you figure out from a mobile perspective how to take advantage of that new data that's coming in from multiple sources and really leveraging that data? So after this mobile side, one of the things that really caught our attention in the study for innovation and successful solutions that entrepreneurs were leveraging in the cloud, the next one is around cognitive computing. And if you think about cognitive is artificial intelligence. It's machine-based learning. It's how do you take and teach the computer to learn, to think, to go to the next level. Many entrepreneurs I know aren't thinking about this yet because they say this is next generation. But it's actually here today. We have many of our successful entrepreneurs who are already leveraging the lessons of machine-based learning and cognitive into their applications. One example that I have here is a company, one of our entrepreneurs based in Austin, Texas. They're called IQ. And what they do is in the retail space is they bring together what happens in a social platform or a social networking platform with what's happening in the real world or in a real retail store. And by training a cognitive system, they're able to leverage the knowledge that they're finding out on social networks and apply it as a person walks in the door. And therefore, expanding their market, enabling the customer to have a similar experience that he or she has online, leveraging all of the information that makes and personalizes for that particular custom. Now, this would not be possible without cognitive computing, teaching the computer how to anticipate, how to learn, how to take those leaps of faith that we do as humans on an automatic basis. So I would love for each of you guys to think about your solution and how to get cognitive to go to work for you. How to use some of those data-driven insights, how to train and teach the computer to think like you do, but then to take it to the next level, not just to predict, but to anticipate and take those leaps of faith so that you can make your solution much more personalized, much more precise, much more actionable in what you're doing and leveraging in the cloud. And we believe that cognitive, embedded, using the cloud and making those services available to all entrepreneurs is something that will help entrepreneurs take their business to the next level and to take a small company and have it act like a large company as well. So this cognitive area, there's a couple of lessons that we've learned in cognitive. And one is that we've seen a lot of companies that will apply artificial intelligence or cognitive learning to bad data. And I think we all know that when you have bad data, you get bad data out. So one of my entrepreneurs came up with a great solution, actually trained Watson, our IBM cognitive computer, based on that data. And when he went to present his solution to the board of a company, the first question the company asked was, where did you get the data? It turns out that the data wasn't a trusted source of information, so therefore everything that followed afterwards was not valid. But some people hear cognitive and they want to jump straight to cognitive without looking at their data, the sources of their data, and making that a trusted piece of information. The second thing on cognitive that we've learned through working with a lot of entrepreneurs and embedding it in is to have the entrepreneur really understand the buying patterns that their customers are going through. So you have to train the computer to think. You have to train the computer with assessments and use cases. And so that means that you as an entrepreneur need to understand the customer as much as you want the computer to understand it. So you can teach the computer the patterns that the client will go through. In fact, right now in my business at IBM, I have a site called DeveloperWorks where we answer questions for developers. And we are right now in the process of training, of sending Watson to work and to school to learn the patterns of answering questions. And what I found is as I'm doing that in my business, I really have to understand how a person on my team answers those questions in order to be able to train the computer to be able to take over that work and then hopefully to do it even better one day. So one of the other things I'd love for you guys to do as entrepreneurs is to explore Watson. We really do believe that in cognitive, we've got lots of services, a great API toolkit that can really be helpful here. And we've just introduced something called Watson Analytics. So I don't know about you guys, but sometime in my business, I'm sitting there and I don't know all the questions I want to ask. And so one of the things that Watson Analytics has done is it applies and says, here are some questions that you didn't ask based on your data that you should have asked. Here's some scenarios or use cases that you didn't teach me that you should have probably thought through. So go back and do that homework. So I think it's a really valuable tool to help you think through the very right elements of how to make things happen. Okay, our last, if you could take me to the next slide, please. Our last area that I wanted to talk about is around the hybrid cloud. And I know this is the cloud track And what we've seen, as well as what Gartner and others have reported, is that most customers today are leveraging and using a hybrid cloud. And they're doing that for lots of reasons, but for the great one for entrepreneurs is they're using the hybrid cloud because it brings the system of record and the system of engagement together. System of record are typically kept in that private cloud community. Systems of engagement are typically kept in a public cloud. So that combination of private and public really goes a long way. So this is an example of a company. It used to be called Entrepreneur, used to be called Music Mastermind. Just recently renamed themselves to Zyra. And they did that because they really took advantage of all the trends I'm talking about, using sensors, using cognitive, using the real-time data on a hybrid cloud structure to create a music-based game that's really gone gangbusters in the marketplace. So they now are using these capabilities to create this full digital music library and selecting the song samples that you might want based on your past history and learning your preferences and anticipating what you might like. We've got about 400,000 composers now into the tool, 155 companies, and they've done this all leveraging that hybrid cloud that we talked about. So the reason I think this is so important is that so many people today are creating a public cloud solution only. And what we're seeing as we're going out there talking to clients, that's going to come maybe 5-7 years out. Lots of people are trying it today with system of engagement. But in the meantime, that hybrid cloud solution is really important to have in your repertoire. It provides the client visibility and control of their data because they've got some in the private area. It gives them the ability to integrate and to be portable across geographies. It enables their developers to be more productive as they're learning the new environment so they can innovate faster. And since the data now can reside in multiple places, it also provides that deeper insight that we've been talking about. So this hybrid cloud model, we believe, is one of the big innovations and the trends out there where we're seeing the fastest growth in the marketplace as we're driving forward. This hybrid cloud is also driving different lines of thinking for the end user. So we're seeing more decisions here being influenced by 3 particular buyers. And that means that as an entrepreneur, you need to figure out how you value prop to all 3. The line of business, the developer, who's a new kingmaker or queenmaker, as well as the IT leader that's also advancing change inside the organization. And so since this track had cloud and security, I really honed in on a lot of the lessons that our entrepreneurs learned about the hybrid cloud, but also on the security side. So what we're seeing from clients of our entrepreneurs is that transparency of the data and seeing where the apps are, really important in the cloud. Hybrid cloud can help you with that. This whole multi-layered approach that you can leverage and use around integration, at every integration point, using the protection of security as you move forward in that. And then the control and the governance. How do you make sure that you're managing appropriately and can prove back different types of governance that you have in your company today or your customer has in your company today to really take this forward? So I hope that this was helpful for you. These 5 innovations we've seen from these pace setters entrepreneurs in the cloud. The first one I talked about was that ability to use predictive capability and change in real time. The second one was how you integrate Internet of Things in and making Internet of Things either from another company's data or from your own data really successful. The third was not just how you use mobile, but how you use it in an integrated fashion with social and analytics. We talked a little bit about cognitive systems and how people are starting this today, and it's not just big companies, it's entrepreneurs who are gaining an advantage. And then we talked about the hybrid cloud. We really do believe that this hybrid cloud is going to be the place to place your bets on in the future as you transition companies into that public cloud. Now, because we love TiCon, we love entrepreneurs, one of the things that we'd like to offer today to those folks here at TiCon is we do have a global entrepreneur program. that assists both on the technology side as well as on the go-to-market side. It offers up to $120,000 of free Bluemix services. And inside of those services, we built them with all this entrepreneur data in mind. We have mobile services that are already pre-integrated. We have Watson cognitive services already pre-integrated. And we have the best world-class Internet of Things, device recipes and sensor data and connections across the board, MTAA across the board, available as well. And we love, because we love you as entrepreneurs and here at TiCon, for you guys to go out and register and take advantage of that offer, okay? Thank you guys very much. I appreciate the time today. Thank you.